Hello, BookTube. This is a continuing shelf tour. Bookcase 8, Shelf 4. There is a possibility we can do this entire shelf in one video. Most of them have been broken in two. And the reason for this is there's some sets. And you can pretty much show with one book how the set works. And then just give the titles in the set. So I'm going to start here. The works of Rudyard Kipling. The first one here is Plain Tales from the Hills. It's Scribner's. Now I've got this in an entire set. Let's see here. It goes to volume 18. Sorry about dipping off camera there, but I got them piled up here so I can get to them easy. I'll show you the cover. I don't know if you can see this. It's the head of an elephant. It's almost impossible to put on camera. This entire set, this is, well, here I'll show you, it has the onion paper here to protect the image. It's New York, Charles Scribner and Son, 1911, the writing in prose and verse of Rudyard Kipling. The paper is beautiful, deckled edges. The original copyright's 1897 on this. So, just give you a feel for what's in it. There are illustrations scattered through these things. They're hard to find just randomly. They tend to have the onion skin paper protecting them. Here we go. So this is Mohammedan. And then you move the onion skin. And there you go. And these illustrations are similar throughout. So there's 18 volumes. So we start off Plain Tales from the Hills. The next one is Soldiers 3 and Military Tales Part 1. Soldiers 3 and Military Tales Part 2. In Black and White. The Phantom Rickshaw, which is volume 5. Volume 6 is Under the Deodars and Other Stories. Volume 7 is The Jungle Book, that you'll be familiar with. Volume 8 is the second Jungle Book, which makes sense. Push these over so they don't fall. This is The Light That Failed. Volume 10 is The Newell Haka, or however you pronounce that. And they're all the same. This is Verses. This is Captains Courageous, one of my favorites. This is The Day's Work, Part 1. And we know what's coming here. The Day's Work, Part 2. I stopped and double-checked that. Isn't that funny? And then From Sea to Sea, Part 1. From Sea to Sea, Part 2. I did check again, didn't I? And Volume 17 is the early verse. And Volume 18 is Stocky and Company. I've had several people tell me that's their favorite. That's one I have not read. And I've read scattered through these. I have not read every one of these. There's a good little story behind the set. My mom came to my house with a box with them all in it. She says, I got these for, I think she said $5. I'm wondering if you want them. Yep, I want them, Mom. Then here is a famous set. I've actually seen people on BookTube reading this set. I read it years and years ago in a beat up old paperback set, and this is a nicer collection. And you'll see this box set around. This is the Alexandria Quartet by Lawrence Durrell. So Justine, Belshazzar, Mount Olive, and Clea. Let's see. I'll just take out one here. There's no sense. They're Dutton 'n' Book. They're Dutton 'n' Book. I don't know if they came with dust jackets on the volumes. I'm guessing they did. I've never seen them like that in this set. So New York, E.P. Dutton and Company Incorporated. This is the 15th printing of 62, and they originally came out in 57. So I'll give you an idea. I enjoyed these books. I actually like his travel writing better, but that doesn't mean I didn't like that. Then here's one of my pride and joys. Robert Graves' The Greek Myths, a retelling story of the Greek gods, heroes, embodying the conclusions of modern anthropology and archaeology. I would imagine that archaeology and anthropology have moved on since then. A little bit. It doesn't make it any less enjoyable. Beautiful little volumes. This is constantly reprinted. This is from 1957, Georgia Brasilia Incorporated, New York. It was first published in 55, so it's a rather early reprinting. Small typeface, but that's fine. I mean, I've read it before. I just love the little set, and I look at it, and I mean, I've already read it, but again, in a beat-up old paperback. And speaking of beat-up old paperback, this is one I've kept. This is The White Goddess, amended and enlarged edition by Robert Graves. Problematic volume. It's a historical grammar of poetic myth. And yet, if you are a poet, I could see the value in it. Here's I, Claudius, a modern library edition. I wish it had the dust jacket. I'd love to see it. I don't think I ever have. I, Claudius, many of you remember, was on a PBS television with Sir Derek Jacobi and a great cast. So I, Claudius, from the autobiography of Tiberius Claudius, born 10 BC, murdered and deified AD 54. So you already know what's going to happen to Claudius. Well, you know what's happening to every one of us. We all go in a different way, I guess. And then I have the vintage paperbacks of I, Claudius and Claudius the God, both by Robert Graves. And then we'll have to step out here just to move along. This was a big pile, so there's no other way to do this. We have the collected essays by Aldous Huxley. Problematic dust jacket. I could probably get rid of the dust jacket, but I haven't bothered. $5 when this came out. Dust bunny on it there. It's a nice part of doing these shelves is I get to dust them as I'm doing it. Harper and Brothers publisher, New York, 1958. I don't know what printing this is. So it's a collected essays. You have them on nature, on travel, love, sex, and physical beauty, literature, painting, music, matters of taste and style, history, politics, psychology. RX is for sense and psyche and way of life. Moving right along, here is an interesting edition of Lady Chatterley's Lover. This is a beautiful paper. You can't really see the texture there, I don't think. Milestones Editions, New York. First printed in 1928. The complete text first published in Great Britain in 60, reprinted in 60. And this is copyright 1960, the estate of D.H. Lawrence. Quite an interesting novel. Then we have an old Viking compass book of his D.H. Lawrence's Women in Love, which I think I've kept just because I love the looks of it. It won't last forever. With a foreword by the author and introduction by Richard Eldington, Viking Press, New York. So this is originally from 1920. This Compass edition was issued in 1960. This is the 23rd printing of 1973. So this is something I'm just keeping because I like how it looks. Then we're going to get into one of my favorite authors, and that's John Fowles, British author. Essays and Occasional Writings, and this is from this Wormholes. edited by and introduced by Jan Ralph, Henry Holt and Company, New York, and this is from 1998. So he does essays, autobiography, and the writing in the self, culture and society. The first one of those is on being English but not British. Literature and literary criticism, nature and the nature of nature, and then there's an interview here with John Fowles and Diane Vipond, and an index. Let me see, they got a good picture of Fowles right there. And to get into some of his books here, well, there's a great picture of him. Here's Daniel Martin. Oh, I'll pull this out. I didn't even know this was in here. I don't remember it. So this is a book review, New York Times book review. The English Hero, Daniel Martin. That's it's a bad idea to put these newspapers. The newspaper paper, as you probably noticed, is very acidic. It's cheap paper. It's meant to last a day. And when you put it in the book, well, in this case, the end papers are orange, so it didn't really hurt it. But you're going to ruin the paper in your book in most cases anyway. So this is Little Brown and Company, Boston, first edition, 1977. That would be first American edition, I'm sure. Then you have his one of his most famous novels, The French Lieutenant's Woman. And this one is a novel I absolutely loved. Little Brown and Company, Boston and Toronto, 1969. This is the second printing. And then A Maggot, which is one of the strangest titles ever, I think. And Little Brown and Company, Boston, first edition, in this case, 85. There he is. And I think this is the one. Yeah, I always loved the beginning of this novel. And I always thought, yeah, this is why he's a writer and I'm not. But it starts, in the late and last afternoon of an April long ago, a forlorn little group of travelers crossed a remote upland in the far southwest of England. And it gets better. So, here's an odd little textual thing here. But, yeah, volume I very much enjoyed. And then I'm going to end it with something that's popular now, and that's Poldark, Ross Poldark, Winston Graham. It's a big series of historical novels that take place in Cornwall. And you'll see the PBS TV series, which is what the cover is there. I read it years ago, and then we did it again for a book club. Very much enjoyed it. I think they're well written. I like them. So that was, we did do it. We got, in less than 14 minutes, we got through the fourth bookshelf of the 8th bookcase. Thank you, BookTube.